The lunch crowd at Precision Eats food truck thought they knew Carlos Rodriguez, the cheerful guy who remembered everyone's order and always asked about their families while grilling their carnitas. But when gunfire erupted from the First National Bank across the street and 3 armed robbers started shooting at innocent bystanders, Carlos dropped his spatula and picked up something else. Something that revealed why his hands were so steady when he was cooking and why he always positioned his truck with perfect sight lines to the entire downtown block. Every story you're about to hear was earned, not given. This one belongs to Carlos Rodriguez, a man whose expertise was earned through 8 years as a Marine Corps sniper, where precision meant the difference between protecting lives and losing them, and where steady hands were forged through missions most people couldn't imagine. Welcome to Earned Stories. Before we share this tale of earned precision and continued vigilance, tell me in the comments, where are you watching from today? And if you believe stories like this deserve recognition, hit that subscribe button, because every story we tell here was earned through dedication, sacrifice, and the understanding that some skills never stop serving others. Downtown Phoenix's financial district had rhythms that Carlos Rodriguez had learned to read like sheet music. The morning coffee rush at 7 a.m., the mid-morning snack break at 10, and the holy grail of food truck success, the lunch stampede that started at 11:45 and didn't let up until 1:30. For 6 years, Precision Eats had been perfectly positioned to catch every wave. Carlos had earned his spot on the corner of Central Avenue and Washington through reliability that bordered on the supernatural. Rain or shine, 115-degree summer days, or the rare Phoenix snowfall, the bright red truck with yellow lettering was there, serving food that had earned its reputation, one perfect taco at a time. Best carnitas in the city was what regulars told newcomers. Carlos doesn't just cook, he's an artist with meat. What they didn't mention, because they didn't know, was that Carlos's precision had been earned through experiences where missing your mark meant people died. Every morning at 5 a.m., Carlos arrived to prep his mobile kitchen with routines most food truck operators would find excessive. Every ingredient measured exactly, every tool placed in its designated position, every surface cleaned to standards that went beyond health department requirements. His assistant, Miguel Santos, a college student who worked mornings, often marveled at Carlos's organizational system. "Chef," Miguel would say, using the nickname Carlos had earned among his regular customers, "you run this truck like it's the Pentagon." Carlos would smile and continue his precise mise en place. "Attention to detail, Miguel. When people trust you with their lunch, you don't let them down." What Miguel didn't know was that Carlos's attention to detail had been earned through 8 years as a Marine Corps sniper, where organizational precision meant the difference between successful missions and catastrophic failure. Every tool in its place, every measurement exact, every variable accounted for. Habits that had once meant survival now ensured that every order was perfect. Carlos's customers saw a friendly guy in his late 30s with calloused hands, a genuine smile, and an uncanny ability to remember not just orders, but personal details. Jennifer Martinez, an accountant from the building across the street, ordered the same fish tacos every Tuesday and Thursday. Carlos always asked about her daughter's soccer season. Tom Bradley, a bank manager, preferred extra cilantro and always wanted to hear Carlos's opinion on the Sun's latest trade. What none of them noticed was how Carlos's eyes constantly scanned his environment while he cooked, the way he positioned himself to maintain sight lines to all approaches, the methodical way he assessed every customer, not suspiciously but with the kind of automatic threat evaluation that had been drilled into him through sniper training, where awareness meant staying alive. Carlos Rodriguez hadn't always been a food truck owner. The transition from Marine Corps sniper to mobile kitchen entrepreneur wasn't a career path most people would understand. But Carlos understood something civilian life rarely teaches. Excellence isn't about the arena. It's about the standards you bring to whatever you do. After 8 years in the Marines, Carlos had earned his discharge through deployments to Iraq and Afghanistan that tested everything he thought he knew about precision, patience, and protecting others. 3 tours, 127 confirmed saves through Overwatch operations, and countless sleepless nights had taught him that some skills become part of who you are. They don't disappear when you change careers. When Carlos first bought the food truck 6 years ago, Friends and family questioned the decision. A decorated Marine sniper opening a taco stand seemed like professional suicide. What they didn't understand was that Carlos had found a way to apply skills earned through the highest stakes possible to serving people who needed something he could provide. Carlos chose food service deliberately. It wasn't about needing employment. His military pension and disability compensation covered his basic needs. It was about finding a new way to serve others while applying precision and attention to detail that had been earned through life and death situations. The location wasn't random either. Carlos had studied downtown Phoenix's patterns for months before choosing his corner. The intersection provided optimal sightlines to the entire financial district, traffic flow that ensured steady customers, and positioning that allowed rapid response to any situation that might develop. During slow periods, Carlos would often be found reading, not restaurant trade magazines, but tactical journals, threat assessment reports, and security publications that had nothing to do with food service. Habits of continuous learning earned through a military career where staying current with threats and tactics meant staying alive. Carlos knows everything that happens in this district, was how Detective Sarah Chin described him to other officers. Best informal intelligence source we have. Nothing gets past him. What Detective Chin attributed to community awareness was actually tactical surveillance skills earned through sniper training, where gathering intelligence on target areas was as important as marksmanship. Carlos' daily routine reflected habits most people wouldn't recognize. His truck was positioned to provide maximum observation coverage while maintaining rapid exit routes. His inventory was organized not just for efficiency, but for quick access to items that could be repurposed if necessary. His customer interactions provided opportunities to assess potential threats while building relationships that created an early warning network. Tuesday, October 22nd, 12:47 p.m. The lunch rush was hitting its peak when Carlos noticed three men who didn't fit the pattern. Downtown Phoenix's financial district had regular rhythms: business suits moving with purpose, casual dress indicating bank customers, service workers taking their lunch breaks. These three moved differently. Dark clothing despite the 89-degree October heat. Nervous energy that didn't match the casual pace of lunch hour foot traffic. Most telling, they kept checking their watches and scanning the bank's security cameras with the kind of awareness that suggested planning rather than casual observation. Carlos's threat assessment, earned through deployments where reading human behavior meant survival, triggered immediately. These weren't lunch customers. They were operators executing a plan. Carlos continued serving customers while tracking the three men's movements through his peripheral vision. His hands maintained their steady rhythm, chopping, seasoning, grilling, but his mind was processing tactical intelligence that had nothing to do with food service. At 12:52 p.m., the three men entered First National Bank across the street. Carlos's experience told him this wasn't a banking transaction. Their body language, timing, and coordination suggested something else entirely. Carlos reached under his prep counter and activated a device that wasn't standard food truck equipment, a police scanner tuned to emergency frequencies. Within 30 seconds, the confirmation came through. All units, armed robbery in progress, First National Bank, Central and Washington. Carlos looked around his lunch crowd. 43 people were scattered across the plaza, most of them unaware that danger was developing 50 yards away. Business people eating at outdoor tables, pedestrians walking past with their headphones on, children playing in the small park adjacent to the bank. When the first gunshots rang out, chaos erupted immediately. People screamed, ran in different directions, or froze in place with the kind of panic that gets people killed when they can't process what's happening fast enough to respond effectively. But Carlos Rodriguez wasn't panicking. He was calculating. The sound of automatic gunfire in an urban environment creates a specific kind of terror. To most people, it's overwhelming noise that paralyzes rational thought. To Carlos Rodriguez, it was tactical intelligence that his mind processed with skills earned through combat deployments. Three shooters, probably AR-15 platform weapons based on sound signature, firing in controlled bursts rather than full automatic spray. Objective appeared to be crowd control and intimidation rather than maximum casualties. They were buying time for something, probably a vault operation or hostage negotiation. Carlos's assessment took less than 10 seconds. His response revealed who he really was. Carlos reached under his prep station and retrieved an item that wasn't listed on any food truck inventory, a custom rifle case that had been modified to look like a standard equipment storage container. Inside was a precision instrument that Carlos had hoped he'd never need to use in civilian life, but had maintained in perfect condition just in case. Miguel, Carlos's voice carried an authority that made made his assistant move immediately. Get in the truck, lock the doors, stay down, and call 911. Tell them there's an active sniper on the roof of the bank, 3 shooters, and that Carlos Rodriguez is providing counter-sniper support from the food truck location. Miguel stared at Carlos like he was seeing him for the first time. The friendly taco vendor was gone. In his place was someone harder, more focused, with movements that suggested extensive training in situations most people never face. Carlos's rifle setup took less than 60 seconds, a process he'd rehearsed countless times but hoped never to use. The weapon was a civilian legal precision rifle that had been modified within legal parameters to provide the accuracy Carlos's training demanded. Not military grade, but sufficient for urban distances where precision mattered more than power. Carlos positioned himself using the food truck service window as a concealed firing position. The elevation was perfect, the sight lines clear, and the range, approximately 75 yards, was well within his comfort zone for precision shooting. Through his scope, Carlos could see the situation developing inside the bank. 3 armed subjects, approximately 15 hostages, including bank employees and customers, and what appeared to be a coordinated operation with specific objectives beyond simple robbery. Carlos's sniper training had taught him that in hostage situations, patience was as important as marksmanship. The wrong shot at the wrong time could escalate violence and cost innocent lives. The right shot at the right moment could end the situation with minimal casualties. The sound of automatic gunfire in an urban environment creates a specific kind of terror. To most people, it's overwhelming noise that paralyzes rational thought. To Carlos Rodriguez, it was tactical intelligence that his mind processed with skills earned through combat deployments. 3 shooters, probably AR-15 platform weapons based on sound signature, firing in controlled bursts rather than full automatic spray. Objective appeared to be crowd control and intimidation rather than maximum casualties. They were buying time for something, probably a vault operation or hostage negotiation. Carlos's assessment took less than 10 seconds. His response revealed who he really was. Carlos reached under his prep station and retrieved an item that wasn't listed on any food truck inventory, a custom rifle case that had been modified to look like a standard equipment storage container. Inside was a precision instrument that Carlos had hoped he'd never need to use in civilian life, but had maintained in perfect condition just in case. Miguel, Carlos's voice carried an authority that made his assistant move immediately. Get in the truck, lock the doors, stay down, and call 911. Tell them there's an active sniper on the roof of the bank, 3 shooters, and that Carlos Rodriguez is providing counter-sniper support from the food truck location. Miguel stared at Carlos like he was seeing him for the first time. The friendly taco vendor was gone. In his place was someone harder, more focused, with movements that suggested extensive training in situations most people never face. Carlos's rifle setup took less than 60 seconds, a process he'd rehearsed countless times but hoped never to use. The weapon was a civilian legal precision rifle that had been modified within legal parameters to provide the accuracy Carlos's training demanded. Not military grade, but sufficient for urban distances where precision mattered more than power. Carlos positioned himself using the food truck service window as a concealed firing position. The elevation was perfect, the sight lines clear, and the range, approximately 75 yards, was well within his comfort zone for precision shooting. Through his scope, Carlos could see the situation developing inside the bank. 3 armed subjects, approximately 15 hostages, including bank employees and customers, and what appeared to be a coordinated operation with specific objectives beyond simple robbery. Carlos's sniper training had taught him that in hostage situations, patience was as important as marksmanship. The wrong shot at the wrong time could escalate violence and cost innocent lives. The right shot at the right moment could end the situation with minimal casualties. Carlos settled into a position that had been earned through thousands of hours of training and dozens of real-world applications. His breathing controlled, his heartbeat steady, his mind calculating wind, distance, and target movement patterns with the kind of precision that had once made the difference between mission success and team casualties. At 1:03 p.m., the situation escalated. One of the gunmen appeared in the bank's front window, using a hostage as a human shield while communicating with what appeared to be additional personnel outside. Carlos could see through his scope that the subject was agitated, making decisions that suggested the operation wasn't proceeding according to plan. Carlos's radio scanner confirmed his assessment. Suspect 1 has moved to the window with hostage. Appears to be calling for additional units. Phoenix PD SWAT en route. ETA 8 minutes. 8 minutes was too long. Carlos could see through his scope that the situation was deteriorating. The hostage was an elderly woman, probably in her 70s, who appeared to be having medical distress. The gunman was becoming increasingly agitated as police sirens approached. Carlos made a tactical assessment that drew on 8 years of experience in situations where hesitation meant people died. The gunman in the window represented represented an immediate threat to the hostage and was positioned where Carlos could engage without endangering other civilians. Carlos's first shot was a precision engagement that neutralized the window threat without injuring the hostage. The technique was textbook counter-sniper methodology, precise placement that immediately incapacitated the threat while providing maximum protection for innocent life. The engagement lasted less than 2 seconds, but its effects were immediate and decisive. The hostage was safe, the primary threat was neutralized, and the remaining subjects inside the bank were now dealing with the psychological pressure of knowing they were facing professional opposition. Carlos maintained his position, continuing to provide overwatch while Phoenix PD units established perimeter control. His role had shifted from active engagement to intelligence gathering and precision support, exactly the kind of mission he'd performed dozens of times in military operations. When the second gunman appeared at a side entrance, attempting to escape with several hostages, Carlos was ready. The engagement required more complex calculation, moving targets, multiple civilians in proximity, and the need for precision that left no margin for error. Carlos's second shot demonstrated why the Marine Corps had invested 8 years in his training. The subject was neutralized instantly, the hostages were protected, and the tactical situation was contained with minimal risk to innocent life. Phoenix Police SWAT arrived at 1:11 p.m. to find a situation that had been largely resolved by precision shooting from an unidentified counter-sniper position. The remaining suspect had surrendered immediately after witnessing the tactical elimination of his partners. "Control, this is SWAT 1, came the radio transmission that Carlos heard through his scanner. "Bank is secure, suspects neutralized, hostages safe. We need to identify the sniper who provided support." Shooting was professional-grade precision. Carlos had already begun securing his equipment when Phoenix Police Detective Sarah Chen approached the food truck. Sarah had been a customer for 3 years, knew Carlos as the friendly guy who made perfect carnitas, and always asked about her kids. "Carlos," she said, looking at the rifle case he was placing back in its concealed storage. "What the hell just happened here?" Carlos looked at this law enforcement professional who'd bought lunch from him hundreds of times and made a decision about how much to reveal. Marine Corps sniper, 8 years. Someone needed help. Sarah stared at the man who'd been serving her tacos for 3 years, understanding finally why his hands were always so steady, why he seemed to see everything that happened in the district, and why his food truck was positioned with perfect tactical advantages. 127 confirmed saves during deployment, Carlos continued, plus 2 more today. Sometimes the mission doesn't end when you change jobs. Within 2 hours, word of the bank shooting had spread through downtown Phoenix. Carlos Rodriguez, the beloved food truck owner who'd been part of the district's daily rhythm for 6 years, had revealed himself to be something none of his customers had suspected. But it was his customers' response that surprised Carlos most. Instead of fear or suspicion, they showed gratitude and deeper respect for someone who'd been quietly protecting them while serving their lunch. Jennifer Martinez, the accountant who ordered fish tacos twice a week, spoke for many when she told local news, "Carlos has been taking care of this neighborhood for years. We just didn't know how literally he meant it." Tom Bradley, the bank manager who'd been inside during the robbery, was more direct. "That man saved my life and probably a dozen others. He's been our guardian angel, and we never even knew it." 6 months after the bank incident, Carlos returned to his corner of Central and Washington with the same bright red food truck, the same menu, and the same commitment to serving the best tacos in downtown Phoenix. His routine was exactly the same. Arrive at 5 a.m., prep with military precision, serve customers with genuine care. But everything else had changed. Customers now understood that their friendly neighborhood taco vendor was someone whose expertise had been earned through experiences most people couldn't imagine. The casual conversations continued, but with an undercurrent of respect for someone whose skills went far beyond food service. Miguel, his assistant, had absorbed more than cooking techniques during his time working with Carlos. The habits of precision, attention to detail, and situational awareness were lessons that would serve him wherever life took him. "Chef," Miguel asked one day as they prepped for the lunch rush, "do you miss it? The Marines?" Carlos looked around the plaza, where he'd spent 6 years serving people who'd become like family to him. "I'm still serving, Miguel, just in a different way. Every person who comes to this truck safely, every day they don't have to worry about threats they don't even know exist, that's a mission accomplished." The Phoenix Police Department had offered Carlos a position as a tactical consultant, and the FBI had inquired about his availability for counterterrorism operations. He declined all offers politely, explaining that he had found his place of service and intended to honor the commitment he'd made to his community. "People ask me why I stay with the food truck," Carlos told a reporter during a follow-up interview 6 months later. "They think I should be doing something more important with my skills. But feeding people who work hard, being part of a community's daily rhythm, providing a safe space where families can gather, that's not less important than anything else I've ever done. It's just a different way of protecting people." Carlos Carlos understood something most people never learn. Expertise doesn't diminish when you apply it in unexpected ways. The precision earned through 8 years of Marine Corps sniper training was no less valuable when applied to food service. The vigilance learned through combat deployments was no less important when used to watch over a downtown plaza. 3 years later, Carlos was still at his corner, still serving precision-crafted food to people who trusted him with far more than their lunch orders. He'd become part of the district's security infrastructure, an unofficial guardian whose presence made everyone safer, whether they knew it or not. Carlos's story reminded everyone who heard it that heroes don't always wear uniforms, carry badges, or seek recognition. Sometimes they wear aprons, serve tacos, and use skills earned through sacrifice to protect communities that never know how much they needed protecting. Carlos Rodriguez's story was earned through 8 years as a Marine Corps sniper, where 127 confirmed saves taught him that precision and vigilance are more than skills. They're callings that continue long after the uniform comes off. His greatest achievement wasn't neutralizing 2 threats in 60 seconds. It was 6 years of using skills earned through military service to serve a community that had become his mission. He never advertised his background because his work spoke for itself, never sought recognition because he'd already earned the only reward that mattered, the trust of people who knew their neighborhood was safer because he was there. So I ask you, what skills have you earned that could serve others in unexpected ways? What expertise could you apply to protect people who might never know they needed protection? Share your story in the comments. Tell us about someone whose earned expertise made your life safer or better. Because here at Earned Stories, we believe that the most valuable protection often comes from ordinary places, provided by people whose extraordinary skills were earned in ways most of us will never experience. Sometimes the greatest heroes are the ones who choose to use their earned expertise serving others. One meal at a time, one safe day at a time, one moment of quiet vigilance at a time. Thank you for watching. If this earned story moved you, subscribe to Earned Stories for more tales of earned service. And remember, every person serving others deserves respect. But some have earned their expertise through experiences that remind us why precision, vigilance, and dedication are more than just professional skills. They're expressions of character forged through service to something greater than ourselves.